What's going on, everybody? Today I want to talk about one of the most asked questions, and that is Magic Find. Does it do anything? I recently went up from 15 to 90% Magic Find, a big jump, and I want to go over what my experience has been from farming at 15% for hundreds of hours to the recent couple of weeks that I've had 90%. Let's get into it. All right, so one of the reasons why I decided to make this video is I released a farming spot video a couple of days ago, and a lot of people said, oh, well, now you have Magic Find, it's so much increased. It has increased, and I have felt it, and I'll go over my findings here. However, I have made every single video before that video, every single video on the 21st or before has been made with 15% Magic Find, which is even less than some of your free-to-play players out there. I have not had a lot of Magic Find in any of my videos until about a week ago. And so I will say that it has helped me, and I'll go over what I think has changed a lot and what hasn't really changed a lot. So it does matter, but not as much as people think. And so first off, the thing I want to talk about is what Magic Find actually does. And so Magic Find here, it does increase the chance for items that are dropped to be higher quality. So that could be a white item becoming a magic item, a blue item becoming a rare item, a yellow item becoming a legendary item, etc., etc. And the big way that you could find this out and kind of figure out how this actually works is if we compare what my bestiary and my open world farming was like before and after. So before, when I had 15% Magic Find, I would be able to farm 10 monstrous essence and not complete a full inventory of loot. I would be able to go back and then turn in my bestiary, blacksmith, salvage everything, return to the farm, and be no worries at all. However, in the last week or so, when I've been farming, I have noticed that I have not been able to get to 10 monstrous essence before I fill up my inventory. And the big reason for this is that, let's say you have a monster that's going to have, these are completely made up numbers, but you have 70% drop rate for a white item and 20% drop rate for a blue item, for example. Well, with higher Magic Find, that white item drop rate percentage is going to drop down to like 50%, and the blue item drop rate percentage is going to increase to, let's say, 30 or 40%. And that is because Magic Find turns those lower quality items into higher quality items at a higher rate. This is very important to understand, because it doesn't actually just straight up increase the drop rate. It kind of just overall, increases the quality of items you're getting from a monster. Now, this is really impactful, in my opinion, for a lot of players out there, especially newer players, because this allows you to get more dust and more scrap material for your upgrades. I myself have a huge stockpile. I've been playing this game since day one, and as you can see here, when I go to my upgrade tab, you can see I have 100,000 scrap material, 436 enchanted dust, and 652 glowing shards. Now, this is because I farmed for hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 or 2,000 hours at this point. Maybe not 2,000, that may be a little bit too much, but maybe about 1,000 hours of open world farming, just getting a bunch of legendaries. These were all acquired with 15% Magic Find, just because I played a lot. However, if you're starting the game and you increase your Magic Find, well, you're going to increase your overall loot quality, which is going to give you more upgrades over time. And that is actually really impactful for you players that don't have a massive stockpile. For me, it doesn't really matter. In fact, it's actually more of a detriment, because I have to go back to base, which I'm missing out maybe on 20-30 seconds, because I can't. Usually what happens is I'll use the portal and then return, and then by the time I get monstrous essence, my portal's not off cooldown, so I waste 20-30 seconds getting back to the farm, which is actually a decent detriment from previous, where the Magic Find loot as well as the monstrous essence kind of lined up much better. Now, the second thing is I want to talk about legendary items. So that is the first part of it, is that your overall loot quality is going to be better. And then legendary items in specific, which is the big thing that people wonder, are your legendary drops increased? And I will say 100%, I feel like they have been increased, but not as much as people might think. So first off, I have been using Treasure Hunter the entire time I've been open world farming, because that is the big thing that's going to increase your drops from open world farming. So whether or not you believe Treasure Hunter works as it does, doesn't matter. This is what I've been using, and so just keep that in mind when I'm talking about this. One thing to note as well, I don't believe that Magic Find really is impactful in any other area besides open world, and I'll get over that over the dungeon kind of drop rate in a moment. But when we're open world farming, that is a huge source of legendary items. And so in the last week or so, over tens of hours of open world farming, I have noticed close to about a 50 to 60% drop rate increase compared to before, which is actually quite significant. Now, what does this mean? Is this a 50% drop rate? Absolutely not. This is not a 50% drop rate increase. What it is let's say there's a 1% drop chance. Well, now it is a 1.5% drop chance, which is significant, but not like absolutely game breaking at all. And so keep in mind that I also have went up from 15% to 90%, which is a massive, massive increase in Magic Find, which is basically the entire amount of Magic Find that you could get in the game. And so that is what this is based on. If you're going up 5 or 10 or 15% Magic Find, you're not going to get the same results as I have, because you're not going to get that huge jump in Magic Find. Now, whether or not you think 50% drop rate increase is a huge deal is up to you. In my personal opinion, it will only matter for those of you that are grinders like myself. And so for me, I think it is a big deal. But for the average player, it will not matter next to nothing, because the average player may log on, they may spend an hour or 2 or maybe 3 in the game, and most of that content isn't even necessarily open world farming like I'm doing. And when I'm talking about open world farming, I'm talking about Realm of Damnation circle farming, I'm talking about ship farming, I'm talking about any of the other spots that I went over in this video. I've kind of run around and done a bunch of them. Those are the type of things I'm doing when I'm open world farming, which are very, very efficient in terms of drop rate per time spent. And so if you're doing bounties, if you're going solo farming, you're going to get different results as well. Now, if you're a grinder like myself, would I recommend you go for Magic Find? Absolutely. If you're a casual player, you might want to go with a different strategy, and I'll go over that in just a moment. But before we do that, we're going to talk about dungeons. Now, dungeons are a little bit different, because in the description, you can see here, they talk nothing about set items, no green items, no set items. They say magic, rare, or legendary. Are set items considered legendary? I do not believe so. And the reason for this is, if we just check here, you can see it says legendary and this says set items. And from what my experience has been, the drop rate has not increased at all due to Magic Find. It has purely been, when I farmed it, the new drop rate bonus is with my 15% Magic Find compared to 90% Magic Find. It really didn't change a whole lot. If any, the ranges were very, very similar to about that 25% drop rate beforehand to about 25% drop rate afterwards. It was very, very similar. I think there was only 1 or 2 extra set items in the course of about 100 runs per test. So that could really, really easily be due to RNG. And that's another thing. The legendary drop rates that I've increased here could also be due to RNG. My sample size is low compared to the whole grand scheme of the game, but from how much I've played before to how much I've played now, I feel like I have noticed a small increase. And now, so what should you do if you're a free-to-play or low spender? Is it worth going for that 5%, 10%, maybe 15% Magic Find if you are a higher spender? And I would say it really depends on who you are as a person. And that is, are you someone that's going to open world farm a lot? Are you someone that spends a lot of time in the game? If you are, your Magic Find is going to be way, way higher value than someone who does not. If you're free to play, is it worth pushing for a rank 5 gem immediately? I would say if you are early on into the game, pushing for rank 5 gems might actually give you that little bit of extra oomph in order for you to get that upgrade materials for when you get to those later parts of the game, and actually is worth it. If you're someone that's really, really focused on PvP, I would recommend you completely ignore that and then just go for Resonance, because that's going to give you the highest bang for your buck in terms of effectiveness in PvP. But let's be honest, if you're free to play and you're playing PvP, you're probably going to have a little bit of a hard time. So really, really focus on PvE. It really only works for open world farming. If you're doing challenge rifts, if you're going to do Elder rifts, it doesn't really help that much in there. If you're going to do dungeon, it doesn't really help that much in there. If you're going to go ahead and do anything other than open world farming, I think that Magic Find gets significantly worse in terms of how much value you're getting from it. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the description down below. Again, these are what I think. This is my opinion. Again, I don't have crazy solid data on a 75% Magic Find increase, drop rates before and after. All I'm saying is that from my charting, I've gotten about 50 to 60% legendary items since then. Again, could be RNG. But I'm curious what you all think in the description down below. Have you jumped up a massive percentage of Magic Find? Not like 10%, 10%, because that really doesn't tell me anything. I'm talking about huge increases like I've done. Do you have any, experiences with that, or what else out there about Magic Find have I not covered? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you for the next video.